Peace and blessings, family. I go by the name of dj9-12, and thank you for tuning in. You can check me out at dj912beats.com. Right now, we finna get into just making a beat from scratch and showing you different ways you can do it. Operating FL Studio 20.1 right now. Without further delay, let's get into it. Let's find something to create. Think I'm gonna stay with this right now and probably change the sound later if it don't fit like I'm hearing it. So what I'm hearing is too much. It's too much reverb on it for me. I make it overlap and clash. So playing around with these parameters, the attack, the delay, the sustain and release. I'm gonna play around with those a little bit more on both of these, just to see if if I can get it how I hear it in my head. Sometimes it take a long time, sometimes it don't. So you just gotta be patient. So right now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just keep it simple. Um, always keep notes to yourself. Don't try to make anything too complex when it comes to music. Sometimes it calls for that, sometimes it don't. But the key thing you need to worry about is as a producer or as an engineer, staying true to your sound or staying true to your craft because that's what makes you unique and you different. So in the time that I've been doing this for a while, a little over 10 years, the only thing that stays consistent is the person behind the board. So with Zaytoven, it's like one of my favorite producers. If you look at him consistently, he's never switched his lane. He's never changed who he was, nor his production. But it also stood the test of time. So figuring out who you are in this game early on will help you out. So let's get back into it. Also, I want y'all guys to remember is to learn your shortcut keys. Um, Learning the shortcut keys help with your production time, so it doesn't take as long to produce a beat or to get an EQ or to get a song mixed to the point where you are ready and you feel confident in that. So learn your shortcut keys. The shortcut keys I'm finna go through now are ones I picked up. So Control A highlights everything in that region. So everything that you see in this reddish area, you hit Control A, and then if you want to quick quantize, you Control Q, and this puts everything pretty much on time. Unless you like I was when I first started out, my timing was horrible, but that helps you a lot. Sometimes you don't want to quick quantize, so I know on a couple of these notes I kind of roll the keys from left to right. So something like that, you don't want to quantize. Um, and it's just a matter of shifting the note. So if you want to shift the note slightly, throw it a little bit behind timing. Is you hold Alt, slide that note to the right or to the left, and it lets you nudge it. But let's get back into it, and you'll see me do these techniques. I think through this. It depends on how it sounds. Sometimes it's good to roll your notes. Sometimes you just keep it simple. So I'm finna figure that out now. So as you can see, I roll some of those notes. The last two. Sometimes I roll all of them, but like I said, it also depends on the sound that you want. So be real particular in what you want, and stick to it until you get it. Um, I'm finna save right now. So um, I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way when it comes to saving. So as you see my screen right now, how I save my tracks. I just started putting in the BPMs on the end of it. But back in the day when I first started doing this, I'm from a small town of called Vidalia, Georgia. 912, you can look it up. You know, come visit me when you're in town. Hit me up. But the thing was, there's nobody around here that knows how to do this stuff. So I was learning. Everybody I knew from the get go, coming into the music thing and learning the craft, they were still on hardware. So you know when they save it, it never saves to the internal. They had floppy disks back then, but now that you can save, I was always saving them as random names, and I was saving them on my internal hard drive. I was saving them on this my local disk C drive, and after a couple computer crashes, I had to find out a different way. So external hard drive has been that way since. So when I track my when I make the beats, 912, that's me. You know what I'm saying? I know I made that beat by myself. If I collab with a another producer, then I'll put 912 slash like whatever else on it. So I name them my name, give it some type of name, and then I put the BPM beside it because sometimes people start looking for BPM. I just learned that recently. So sometimes people look for BPM, so I have it all tracked out what BPM you want and everything. And I'm also put them on the website as such. So backing all my files up on the external hard drive. That way, if your internal hard drive crashes, you still have your files. I'm gonna keep saying that over and over in each video. Y'all can get tired of hearing me saying that, but I've lost so many beats that way. So it's not even funny. But it's a way to keep organized. And then too, I do a folder. I do my folders. I set my folders up by year. So 2018 has a folder. 2019 already has a folder. 2016 and 2017 had a folder. And the reason why I know I made that beat in 2016 because I exported to a 2016 beat folder. I had a guy to come in the studio the other day, and he wanted a beat that I did from 2016. He was like, "Go through all your old beats," and I was like, "I'm gonna just start with the oldest ones." I said, "But you've been through them." But he found one he liked, and just so happened I knew exactly what beat it was. 3 years later. So that's an example of why I keep my beats on external hard drives. But I ain't gonna try to hold y'all too long. Let's keep going and let's see what we come up with. So I'm going to this Sound Oracle folder. These are drum kits I bought from Sound Oracle's website. Um, the reason why I love buying sound kits now, which I'm kind of just getting into, and it took me too long to get into because as you can see, I have a lot of files, of different drum samples. But one thing that I've noticed after buying these drum kits was that the drum kits that Sound Oracle has, the drums, the snares, everything already has a crisp, much more in-depth tone or sound to it. So when I'm loading them into the plugin, when I'm loading them into the the panel, the pattern panel, I don't even know why I can't even name it right now, but the pattern panel. Once I drop them in over here, I don't have to do a lot of EQs to them. So that's why I was loving the Sound Oracle, and I advise anybody if you're starting out, buy your sound kits from legitimate people that uh, actually takes the time to engineer their sound. Because some of these sound kits I have ran across that I've purchased, they're trash. You know what I'm saying? They don't come with a good quality sound. So with Sound Oracle, I know you're gonna get a good sound. I think his website is soundoracle.net. If I'm not mistaken, I will put it. It's soundoracle.net if I'm not mistaken, but I will put it in the description below. These two sound kits I got is Ben Trapping 2 and 808 Formula. They have a bunch of sound kits on there, a bunch of different loop packs as well. So y'all slide over to that website, check them out. Just to give you guys a rundown of the shortcuts that I'm using when I'm in the piano roll. Um, as you can see, it's on the brush tool right now. So E will let you select everything. It's pretty much a select tool, but you have to go make sure that I think this, not loop, blending this, like input this. Make sure this is turned off. If this is not turned off, it's just gonna make your keyboard a keyboard. Ironing that, but it's gonna make your typing keyboard into a regular keyboard, so you can play your notes on like that. But if you take this off, you can control your shortcuts. So I have a MIDI controller. It's a 49 key M audio controller. At this point, so make sure that this is also you can do your shortcut keys. But E is the search, B is for the brush, N is for the other brush, the mute. C is for your cut tool, and those are the main ones that I use right now, and pretty much the only ones I know. So Control B. Um, so since you have these two uh measures, right, and you want to copy these two measures without doing the same thing for the next two bars, what you would do is hit Control B, and it'll drop it in for you. Sometimes if you have it zoomed in too far, I notice it be off sometimes. So I use the shortcut I was telling y'all about earlier. Hold Alt left on the mouse and just slide it. The left button on the mouse and just slide it. Hey, something y'all should know too. In the piano roll, if you come down here, you see how this one says velocity. If you click Control, the note release, the filter cutoff, and everything that you would need is right there. So right now, I'm not even gonna do anything but the panning. I'm gonna allow it to pan left to right. So we're gonna click on panning, channel panning, and we're gonna go from left to right. I like to do that sometimes. So, and it also gives a different dynamic to the track. So I try not to be like everybody else and try to find different ways to make my tracks unique. And this is one of the ways I do that. So basically, what you're doing is left clicking. Um, and this automation actually controls how far left and how far right it goes. And it's pretty neat, pretty accurate. It's very quicker than it's a lot more quicker than um going to your channel and using the panomatic. I think that's what it is. If we send all these to a channel right now, right click, channel routing, route selected, starting from this track, it names them. That helps me out a whole lot. But if I'm not mistaken, it's the Panomanic EQ. Panomanic Matic. Damn, I can't even talk today. But not gonna take the time to find it. But Fruity has a pan thing you can do, but it takes automation too. But you can do it right there. Let's keep getting into the beat and finish up. Another quick tip for up and coming producers or even people that's been in the game a while and don't know this. When you make your drums, your velocity stroke does count for volume. So right now, I can hear distortion in the channel. Um, if you don't have a set of studio monitors, that's a great investment. I'm working with the Yamaha HS50Ms right now, so I can hear distortion. So with your channel being maxed out, with your velocity being maxed out, you also got to think you're maximizing your volume. So what I do is I always my drums are never above this bar right here. This little line right here, that's kind of where I leave my drums. So unless I'm doing something else, like having a backup drum somewhere or something I just want to come in at one point in time and just be very low. Sometimes I do it this way. It's controlling the volume, but when you max them out, what you're doing on your mixer channel is you pushing it to the limit. So right now, only thing I have on my master channel, I don't think I ever use on my master channel, is a Fruity Soft Clipper unless I'm mastering the track. So without this Fruity Soft Clipper, I will be distorting in the red. I think you seen it when it first came up. I was distorting in the red with those drums being that loud. But if my drums are loud here and I'm trying to push my drums loud here, I'm gonna have some type of distortion in the track or it doesn't sound as good. Sometimes it come out too muddy. Sometimes you hear those sounds, those beats, and as soon as the drums come in, it drowns the whole track. You don't want that. So let me put the drums on the channel. So just think about if I'm almost got if I got 90% of my volume right here and I'm finna add some more volume right here, then I'm getting too much and I'm going to distort in the red. Um, so you want to keep it out the red. You want your overall mix to be good, and you can't have your overall mix to be good if your drums are crashing the whole track. You got to think about that sandwich. You know what I'm saying? When people start mixing it down and putting compression on it, what they're doing is they mashing that sandwich together from top to bottom, and they putting everything in a in between in between the two loaves of bread. So what a mix is, you want that sandwich to stand up like those burgers look on the commercial. But even when you get the burgers, you don't they don't look like that. They smash together. That's what compression does. So um that's what the mixing and mastering process does to make everything almost one volume. So just don't over peak your drums. That's one of the first mistakes I made. And I met a guy in Atlanta, and he turned me on to just putting a Fruity Soft clipper on it and making sure I do my drums in that way. So I'm paving it forward by telling y'all. So this track is pretty much finished to me, except for a little more shimmer and shine to it, a little more accent points. But stay tuned. Come back for the next video, and I'm gonna upload it right after I upload this one. Make sure I put that Sound Oracle link in the description below. So thanks you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next video, and we're gonna go over the mixing portion of it and the track out portion. So peace and blessings. DJ912beats.com.